Being that, according to the MacBooks to the left and right of me now, it says at 7:30, so we'll go ahead and we'll commence with this meeting. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Village of Skokie Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is created by the statutes of the state of Illinois and by the ordinances of the Village of Skokie for the purpose of granting proper case relief from the strict terms of our zoning ordinances. The decision of this board to either grant or deny relief will be based upon the evidence presented to it and how that evidence is related to the standards for granting relief. All persons who have an interest in a case, either as a petitioner or as a member of the public, either supporting or opposing the petition, or as an independent witness, will be given a chance to speak on the record and to express his or her points of view. The Zoning Board of Appeals is not a court of law, and therefore, we do not follow the strict rules of evidence. However, this hearing will be conducted in such a manner as to hear only competent evidence or statements. Questions as to procedure, interpretation, and of the admissibility of statements or evidence will be ruled upon by Corporation Counsel Tyler Kobilski, and his legal decisions will be binding upon this board. Certain cases require a covenant running with the land. This will be prepared and recorded by the Village of Skokie Legal Department, and this is done at the petitioner's expense. Whether or not a covenant is required is a determination to be made by the Corporation Counsel at the conclusion of each individual case. If a covenant running with the land is required, it cannot or will not be prepared until our court reporter has returned to the Zoning Board of Appeals a transcript of these proceedings. The Village of Skokie will notify each petitioner when a covenant has been prepared and is ready for signature. No building permits can be applied for or issued until the covenant is signed by the petitioner. Should a petition for variation be denied, or should a covenant not be required, the Board of Trustees will authorize the refund of any required fees. Should it be necessary for the petitioner to request a continuance due to lack of preparation, the case continuation fee of 1/2 of the original application fee is due prior to the rehearing date. This request must be made before any testimony begins. All petitioners must receive a vote of the majority of the zoning board present in order to decide any matter under consideration. Our normal full complement is 9 members. However, tonight's complement is 8 members, making 5 votes necessary to make a determination on a petition. Let's see. Tonight we have one case, even though it's quite a substantial one. 2019-01Z, 8121 Central Park Avenue. Now I'll ask Corporation Counsel, in this particular case, has proper notice been served and notarized?
Most likely. We'll look into it.
Most likely?
Most
okay.
likely.
So we'll have to discuss this with the petitioner once they get up to the podium?
Correct.
Okay, very good. All right, before we start that, we have in our packet the minutes from our previous meeting from, December 5th of 2018, in which we had 4 cases, 2018-13Z, 2018-14Z, 2018-15Z, and 2018-16Z. All the variations were approved unanimously. So if everybody's had a chance to look over the minutes, if they see fit, the chair will entertain a motion for the minutes to be approved.
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Gerstner, thank you. All in favor, voice vote, please?
Yes.
Okay, anybody opposed? No? Okay, minutes are approved. Thank you, Marlene, as always, for your competent work. All right. Okay. Let's see. Then we'll go ahead and start with the case. So if the petitioner would please step up to the podium, we'll have, let's see, we have Commissioner Kirkpatrick presenting your case tonight, sir.
You want to know this first?
Yeah. What we'll do is, before you start, let's swear him in and let's make sure we have the notice cleared up. Good evening, sir. Can we have your name and spell it for the record?
Sure. Rafi Arzmanian, R-A-F-I-A-R-Z-O-U-M-A-N-I-A-N.
Okay, and I know we'll get to it, but you can speak legally on behalf of the petitioner?
Yes.
Okay, great. I believe Corporation Counsel has a question for you, sir.
Sure, we have spoken before the meeting began, and We had talked about how this form, the affidavit of service, was turned in on March 4th, and you believe that service was effectuated 1 or 2 days before that. Is that true? Okay. In that case, notice is proper and correct.
Okay, great. That's good. Sir, if I may, do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct to the best of your knowledge or belief? Please answer in the affirmative.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, now that little bit of house cleaning is all taken care of, we'll let Commissioner Kirkpatrick go ahead and present your case. Sharon, the floor is yours.
Yep, it's case 2019 1Z, 8121 Central Park Avenue. Greystone 8121 Central Park LLC, on behalf of ANC Architects, requests variations in order to redevelop the subject site, resulting in 25 off-street motor vehicle parking spaces, 3-foot distance between driveway entrances, 23-foot 6-inch drive aisle width south of the building, 14-foot 1-inch drive aisle width at the southeast corner of the lot, 4-foot 4-inch distance between parking lot curb and property line, and provide no sidewalk along the side of the building rather than the 28 required off-street motor vehicle parking spaces, 16-foot minimum distance between driveway entrances, 24-foot minimum drive aisle widths, 6-foot minimum curbing setback, and 5-foot minimum sidewalk alongside of building respectively, as required by sections 118-218 subsection 3, 118-218 subsection C, subsection 4, subsection B, 118-212A1F, 118-212I1, and 118-212I10 of the zoning chapter of the Skokie Village Code in an M3 industry district. There is a letter to whom it may make concern. I give permission to Rafi Arzumanian to proceed with submitting for the proceedings. Sincerely, Baruch Shore, Greystone 8121 Central Park LLC. I have the petitioner's statement. The property is located on the eastern side of Central Park Avenue between Keeney Street and Cleveland Street in an M3 zoning with M2 zoning designation on opposing side of Central Park Avenue. The property features an existing approximately 24,300 square foot one-story masonry building. Formerly a warehouse office and currently vacant building, this proposal will improve site by subdividing the current single-user interior space to a 6-unit interior space to better accommodate the current demands and tenant needs, attracting more potential tenants to site and contributing to the revitalization of the neighborhood at large. The proposed plans will undoubtedly contribute to values of properties within the vicinity of the site as vacancy rates will decrease. With tenants come an influx of new employees, staff, who can be expected to shop, eat, etc. in the general vicinity. The proposal also includes an increase in parking spaces from the current 16 spaces to 25 spaces. Please note, the requested variations are all resulting of limitations due to existing structures built on an untypically shaped lot. Without such variations, significant portions of property would be rendered useless and unable to perform as a viable space for tenants. These variations represent the maximum possible adjustments short of demolishing major part of the structure, thereby saving on wasted materials, sound, vibration, air quality disruptions to neighboring properties by repurposing an already erected building. This is an existing property acquired by the current owners. The owner's adjustments include variances will improve conditions of vacant building. All the variances represent the minimum variance necessary to keep existing structure from major demolition. This request will not be injurious to public health, safety, and welfare. It allows existing building to remain rather than be demolished, which would cause sound, vibration, air quality disruptions to neighboring properties. The existing structure causes a unique situation to the site as it was built previous to many requirements currently in place. Requirements which would prevent the existing structure from remaining without variances. The building and the site have been underutilized. The proposed improvements and changes will provide an opportunity to turn the site into a productive element within the community. Sincerely, Rafi Arzumanian.
Okay. Okay, and then there's elements in the staff report which we will address once we continue on with testimony. Good evening, sir. Okay, well, we have your name, and we have it for the record already. You are the architect for, okay, very good. In that case, could you please tell us why we're all here tonight?
As the report states, it's an existing building on an odd-shaped property that has been vacant. It was manufacturing, I believe. It had about 5,000 square foot of office area and about 16,000 square foot of manufacturing or warehouse. My client has been doing this in the area, revitalizing, repurposing existing industrial buildings, where he takes them, these large areas that are very difficult to find a single user for, and divides them into smaller portions. Then they are leased out to contractors, sometimes offices, different uses that require some warehousing and maybe some manufacturing. And there's a portion that's a little office, and there's a portion that's a warehouse that are then rented to smaller tenants, smaller operators that can afford to use the space. In the process, obviously, bringing back the building into the tax roll, as well as improving the general area and reducing the vacancies of those types of buildings. So the reason we are here is that given the setting of the building and its original design that was a single user, to accommodate parking, to accommodate circulation, to accommodate that ability to break this down into the small units requires us to be in front of you to ask for some relief on some requirements. The building as it stands today, with about 5,000 square foot of offices and about 16,000 square foot of warehouse, is grandfathered in, and it has 16 parking spaces. There was a little addition on one side on the southwest corner of it that was obstructing view and was reducing access even more. We're proposing to take that out, which also allows us to add some additional parking, improve the sight lines, and make it easier for both vehicular and pedestrian access. In addition, along Central Park, we're creating another access so to alleviate the parking off of the side for another unit in that area. So in the process, obviously, windows will be replaced and new, the general facade will be cleaned up and tuck pointed, new lighting will go in, new landscaping will go in, sprinkler systems and new plumbing will go in. So the whole building is being pretty much upgraded from a building point of view, and as well as the site point of view. There are one or two points in the staff report that I would like to discuss, but I don't know if the time is now or.
That it would be appropriate to discuss them at this point, absolutely.
So there's one comment from the civil engineering that it asks for compliance with the storm water management. It's number 4 under the civil engineering. The proposed redevelopment must control the stormwater runoff release rate and provide storage of excessive stormwater runoff in accordance with the village code requirements per 118-81C-1.
Okay.
I want clarification on it. The way it's stated, it sounds like we're going to have to pretty much remove all the existing parking and put in new storm detention. My initial reading of it was that this was referring to those parts that we are affecting now, the new paved area, the new sidewalks and all of that, and not the entire site. Because if we have to do that for the entire site, the cost implication of it is tremendous, and it just does not make the project viable.
Okay. Okay. Staff, can you enlighten us with that request at all?
My understanding, that would only apply to the additional areas that are now being paved, the increase.
Then we have no objection. That will definitely comply with that. But
Okay, so as it reads right now, then, that now you've just received clarification from staff, then it's amenable to you?
yes.
Okay, cool,
Yes.
great.
That's one. The other point was there's a reference under the traffic engineering, and I think the planning as well touches on it. It's about having to do with parking and how the future spaces are going to be used. As the report said, and as I stated, there were 16 parking spaces currently, and that's grandfathered in. We're providing 25. We also are reducing the requirements for, we're reducing the square footages for the office area from approximately 6,000 or 5,000 some change, I have the numbers here, 5,929 square feet down to 3,976 square feet. The requirement for parking is greater than it is for a warehouse or manufacturing. For manufacturing, which is a higher of the, between warehouse and manufacturing, is 600 square feet per vehicle. There is a reference that if there is manufacturing being introduced in the mix, my clients would have to come back and ask for additional variance for parking. The issue that we have with that is twofold. One is that these things are being developed, and it's very hard to tell who's the tenant's going to be. And even if they do any manufacturing, I mean, you can imagine from just the layout, this is a very small scale operation. And we are providing more parking. We're reducing the amount of office space. It just does not seem like from our point of view, it does not seem a valid way of interpreting the code that the client would have to come and ask for additional variances for it if that happens.
Right.
Because if you take that, I know this is kind of far-fetched or obscure to think of it this way, but I just want to put it out there, is that if you take the 16 that it's grandfathered in, and that building can be tomorrow rented out for a full manufacturing with 16 parking spaces, 5,000 square foot of retail, it would require 49 parking spaces. But we wouldn't have to be in front of you for that. By right, we could do that, right? So in our scenario, at the worst, if you apply the numbers today to the mix that we have, we would only need 41. So if I know it's a bit far-fetched, but then technically it's like equals to like 71 parking spaces that we have.
Right.
So we would like to ask you to not put that condition in the
And
ordinance.
if I may put your mind at ease, Rafi, it is not in the final, what we see in our packet, that is not part of a condition for approval. So.
Thank you.
And like you said, we're,
The issue is gonna be, we won't issue occupancies if don't meet the parking requirement.
wait. But as it stands right now, it's fine, right?
As proposed, the
Right.
well, as it stands right now, there's a vacant building that's been vacant for more than 6 months, so technically any new use, the building's being divided, it's being split up, that's the proposed. It's not being proposed as a one-tenant building. As proposed, everything proposed is based on office warehouse uses. If they proposed office and manufacturing, or a mix of both, their request should have been for 20-30 required and providing 23. What the final numbers come to, 25 provided, 28 required. That's on their application, based on the parking analysis for warehouse and office. If there's minimal manufacturing in the space and it comes to, it's a small space and it's mainly warehouse and small manufacturing, it most likely wouldn't be an issue.
Right.
If 3 manufacturers come in and they're proposing the entire warehouse space or majority of the warehouse space to be manufacturing, the parking requirement will go up, and spaces will either have to stay vacant or they'll have to come back. The industrial parking requirements are based on the use per the space, and
Right.
it could be varied.
Right. Understood. I mean, that being said, we don't envision like a Felpro or something like that moving into that space, just because of the limitation of the space itself, do we?
Again, it depends on the proposed user and their space. If a space has a couple hundred square feet of manufacturing and mainly warehouse, and there's a mix of that, they probably would meet the parking. But if two larger manufacturers come in and a majority of their space is manufacturing and not warehouse, a couple spaces may have to stay vacant, or somebody may have to come back to the zoning board. Because they are clearly going from one user to multi-user. This is not, if a manufacturer wanted to come in here, there was a mix of manufacturing and office and warehouse, they'd be able to come in.
Right.
We're now adding multiple tenants to the site. The use of the property is changing.
Can I just add, that it doesn't matter if it's this or any other property, if you change the use, the parking requirements would change, right?
Correct.
So you're not being treated differently than anybody else.
And again, it really depends on the users. If however many units are, if a majority of come in with all manufacturing uses, the parking requirement is not 28 spaces. That's based on office, and the analysis was based on office and warehouse.
Okay. What I'd like for the petitioner to be able to do is kind of ameliorate this situation, because, they're dividing this into such a manner as to, go ahead.
Historically, and I've been doing a lot of projects for this client, so I've seen the mix that he has. I think in one other building, we have there's a company that assembles kitchen cabinets. That's their manufacturing. Then they have office, and the rest of it is the warehouse for all their components and parts. There is another one that, I'm just giving you examples just to show you how historically how it has been.
Sure.
There's another one that salvages old planks of wood and as repurposes them. So they have stacks of planks of wood that they have a little bit area that they run them through saws and things, get them cleaned up, and so
clean 'em off,
generally, so generally the mix has been that. The fear with all of this is by strictly saying, if any manufacturing comes in, they have to come back for parking, then who decides at that point how much of this manufacturing has to be there before it triggers coming back to a meeting? So let's say the client rents it to somebody and they have a couple of planers and they're planing wood.
Right.
The village shows up and says, well, you have manufacturing and you're not allowed to do this. So that's kind of the vague area that we're trying to get clarification on it, so that the hands of my clients are not tied, so that he has that flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
So based on the floor plans coming in, I just reviewed an industrial build-out that clearly had office, warehouse, manufacturing. Floor plan clearly stated what was office, square footage, manufacturing, square footage, warehouse. Deductible areas were common areas, hallways clearly marked out. Somebody read our code, and it was all deducted out, and they did a nice little formula. And again, industrial uses are based on the culmination of uses. So if they do have a small manufacturing area, that should clearly be designated on the plans, the warehouse area designated on the plans. If they get a certificate of occupancy, someone's not going to come back in 6 months and say you go on 10 extra feet into your manufacturing space that was designated as warehouse. If there's parking problems on the site, and look at it and somebody's completely, full-blown manufacturing, that would be looked into at the time. But again, the analysis that was based on was all 1 per 300 for the office area, which was what was given on the proposed plans, and then all warehouse. I don't know if anything was ever proposed. Now, again, if there's small portions that are some manufacturing, some warehouse, some office, these numbers are going to move a little bit. If it gets to the point where it is clearly over, it would fall on the last tenant, not one tenant coming in.
Right. So
what in order to gain, in order for the petitioner to gain some flexibility, would you be comfortable in saying as long as this particular petitioner, because we have to judge every case by its own merits, and judging that this is a semi-unique circumstance, if he doesn't exceed like 25% of the parking requirement, 30% of the parking requirement, then he doesn't have to come back for additional variations on parking?
Well, again, it's based on how each space is going to be built out. If they put in less office and more warehouse, that would reduce the parking requirement. For instance, Unit 1, the parking requirement is based on 2,100 square feet of office and 5,600 square feet of warehouse. If they reduce, and if, say, a manufacturer, for instance, wants to come in there, if they reduce the office area and add manufacturing and warehouse, they could meet that parking requirement or even be lower. So the it's, again, it depends how each, I don't know how set, if they have any proposed tenants for these spaces they are, but if they reduce some office space and do manufacturing where the office is going to be in warehouse, they could easily meet these requirements or be lower. So it's always based on the uses. There's a shopping center in town that was granted, I believe they were granted relief on the parking for X amount of spaces. They chose to put in uses that had higher parking requirements, and there's always been at least one space on the site vacant, and it's always it's flip-flopped through the years. If they lease that last space, they're gonna have to come in either to the zoning board or to the plan commission, because I believe it was part of a plan development.
Well, seeing that this particular parcel is next to a fire station on a side street, I don't think we have to worry about retail space at all.
No, but again, it's based on the mix of the uses that are on site. If they
Yeah.
chose to put in more office and retail, the parking would have been lower than the restaurants that were put in.
I mean, I think the goal is not to rule out manufacturing.
Right.
I mean,
No,
that's
it's-
really the goal.
I can't prohibit a manufacturer from going in. It's once the space starts getting full, and if it's a mix of office, manufacturing, and warehouse, by the time we get to the last tenant, it might push, if they're mainly manufacturing, it might push them over. I mean, if they proposed several offices, several manufacturing, I know they're still early, and I don't know how, if they have any idea on tenants in mind, which I'm assuming they probably don't at this point.
No.
I can't prohibit a manufacturer from going in there. It's going to be the later tenants that are going to be dealing with that might have to do a little less office space and more warehouse and some manufacturing if it comes to that.
I understand the predicament.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for you.
Yeah, Mr. Salvi, please.
Just for you. When we vote today, we're voting on current conditions. We can't possibly vote on something a year from now. That's
Exactly.
our dilemma right
Right,
now.
right, exactly.
Well,
And-
voting on 28, well, one of the votes is 28 parking spaces versus the 25 proposed on site based on the plan.
Right, based on the current site plan.
Which-
But, right,
25 or 21?
25.
25. There's an updated analysis at the end of the staff report.
Yeah.
So those plans, WH is warehouse, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so they list warehouse on the plans.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
the
what their
warehouse is the
analysis-
main, it's the main use in terms of priority. I mean, warehousing is main use because the site, once it's broken down like that, it's not suitable for any serious manufacturing.
right.
Manufacturing, you need lines to be able to manufacture, you need assembly lines, you need packaging areas, you need preparation areas.
Right.
If 4,000 or 5,000 square foot space it's not conducive for any kind of serious manufacturing.
Right.
So we just, as I said, we just don't want, I mean, I don't want to tie my client's hands where he's completely excluded of doing some minor manufacturing. And a lot of these small operators they might be assembling something, widgets, putting widgets together.
Yeah, no, and understood, and this, if I can just speak from my own experience, I had a sign company that was in a huge building that had like 40 small tenants in it. It was a combination of warehousing, furniture manufacturing, and so on. So, but this building was huge, absolutely huge. So this building certainly does not, stand up to that standard of what my personal experience is. I can't see myself, that's why I said I don't envision a Felpro or some major manufacturer going in there, and it just doesn't have the space for it.
Right.
So, but like you said, if you got somebody who's repurposing old barnwood and they're using some planers or something like that, or manufacturing some small widgets, yeah, I mean, it's a different story. That area is Central Park. I mean, all we have right next door is we have the fire station to the north of it. And from what I see, even on the map that's submitted in our packet here, looks like on-street parking isn't even really an issue either.
No.
So
I don't believe you could park on Central Park on the east side.
you can't?
I don't
No.
think on the east side you can.
Okay. On the, well, I see.
Or there's, if not, there's definitely
west side
restrictions
you
on
can't.
parking.
Yeah, looks
Yes.
like perhaps on the west side you
Yes,
can.
correct.
Okay, all right. So, but that's what I'm trying to avoid, having the petitioner to come back in case they do get some sort of change.
They're gonna have to request a higher number then and mix up and just put a mix in at the beginning and have that portion reheard and come up with a bit rough proposal for a mix of office warehouse and manufacturing.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Commissioner Gersner has something to say.
I'm looking at your plans. I'm very happy that you're coming into the community to take a building that's been vacant for so long and trying to repurpose it. Thank you for doing that. But in looking at the spaces, the largest space is 7,832 square feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the rest of them are between 4.5, 4 and 4.5?
Yes.
I don't see any way that you can put major manufacturing in any of those spaces. Would you agree with me?
Yes. Absolutely.
So I think this is all for nothing. I don't see any major manufacturing being able to go in there. Like you said, you need lines. I've been in manufacturing plants. You need lines. You need that whole building to put one manufacturing in there. So I think we've got much to do about nothing here, because I don't see that being a problem.
Okay.
And again, I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's all done.
Hopefully nice.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to say regarding this case? There's, is there, and I'm sorry, Rafi, is there anything else that you wanted to address
No.
as far as the staff report was concerned?
No, those were the two.
Okay,
points.
just clarification on the stormwater runoff,
Right.
which we discern is for new construction only.
Yes,
Okay, and basically this parking situation,
correct.
right, which, as it stands right now, isn't really an issue. We're dealing with suppositions and, things that, like you said, really can't be foreseen at this
Right.
time. But based on what you currently have, this is what we're looking at.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I'd like to offer you some certainty, some certainty in this situation. But I don't see how we can allow the petitioner like a percentage overage.
Yeah, and the other issue is in the notice, they were requesting 25 spaces versus 28. We really can't give them any more relief than they had issued notice for. So there's an
Yeah,
issue
if it
there as
was,
well.
they came in with another plan and it actually reduced it,
Yeah,
then the notice actually was the new request would be for less than what was actually proposed.
Okay. So, yeah, so I don't, so there you go, we have, it is what it is as far as the petition is concerned. I don't want to leave a sword of Damocles over your head, to
No,
make it
I
difficult
understand.
for you in the future. But do take solace in the fact that there is lots of off-street parking. From what I see, there may be some other situations where, you know, that there could be some relief granted if something is done over and above what we see here today.
Okay,
So-
that's fine.
Yeah. All right, great.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. Commissioner Kirkpatrick, after all this, I didn't even really ask you if you had any impressions on the case, not really? Nothing that hasn't been addressed already? No? Okay.
I think.
Okay, so we have the comments from civil engineering, traffic. Let's see. So the recommendations as far as, there were a couple requirements. The one we addressed already, which was requirement number 2. The
Yes.
proposed redevelopment must control the stormwater runoff release rate and provide storage of the excess stormwater runoff in accordance with village code requirements. But we discerned that was for new
For the
construction
new,
only.
as long as it's
Right.
clear that it's for new areas, that are affected, yes.
Yeah,
Right,
is there
that's-
any stormwater on site currently? And the proposed, with the civil engineering's first comment or condition, volume control infiltration, first 1 inch of rain, eco pavers and infiltration, clean gravel layer in the proposed paved areas.
Right, that
Right.
will be along the central where the new parking is being added.
Okay. So that's 2 of the conditions for approval on the case. And then the third one is the westernmost ADA parking space should be converted to a standard parking space with the remainder of the space become a landscape buffer. I
Not
mean,
a
that
problem.
sounds like a
Yeah.
minor situation.
Absolutely, we will definitely comply with that.
Okay, great.
The only caveat I would, again, I can't speak for civil engineering. I briefly talked to him about the comments. If it's an MWRD issue, which I don't believe it would be because those are existing paved areas that are being repaved,
Right.
and you are,
And the area that's affected is way below an acre, so it doesn't kick in.
right, so
MWRD.
my assumption is that those are for the new paved areas, but I would have to defer that it's civil engineering's say so if another governing body requires it. If there's some MWRD requirement or something that governs it, we have to abide by that. We can't overrule another, if it's, for the new areas, there's no question, yes, that has to be, that's required.
Okay.
But if there's somebody else require, if MWRD the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District has some requirement with the other existing paved areas, which I believe they don't because they are existing.
Okay.
We would have to abide by their standards, but these definitely apply for the new.
Yeah, we're okay
Okay.
with that. I mean, we're okay, I mean, I'm almost positive.
Okay,
That
I can't,
MWRD
we
only-
can't, the zoning board can't
Right.
waive a requirement that MWRD is gonna come in and require.
Oh,
The
and,
new-
yeah,
the new
no, I-
areas, the new areas, no question.
Yeah.
We can only control what we can control.
Yes.
You know, if there's some other regulatory body out there that's gonna put constraints on your property, we can't do anything about that,
No,
so.
I understand that, and I know MWRD, as I said, you never know, but to the best of my knowledge, their requirement really kicks in when you disturb more than an acre.
Okay,
And only in new construction. If
Okay.
it's something is paved, it's paved, they don't get involved.
okay. All right, that's fine. And again, there's nothing that we can really do about that anyway, so. All right, anything else that needs to be addressed, or is there a final comment you'd like to make, Rafi?
I am good, thank you.
You're good?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, then the chair will go ahead and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I propose the following findings of facts in the granting of variation to the petitioner as follows. That Greystone 8121 Central Park LLC is the owner of the lot described in case number 2019-1Z for the property located at 8121 Central Park Avenue, Skokie, Cook County, Illinois. That said lot is a platted lot of record and it is abutted by commercial buildings on the north and south. That a determination is made that the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in that zoning district. The plight of the owner was not created by the owner and is due to unique circumstances. The variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. I therefore propose that a variance be granted to petitioner for giving failure to comply with the requirements of the zoning ordinance of the Village of Skokie as amended as to off-street parking and loading requirements. That the petitioner be granted the variation to redevelop the subject site resulting in 25 off-street motor vehicle parking spaces, 3-foot distance between driveway entrances, 23-foot 6-inch drive aisle width south of the building, 14-foot 1-inch drive aisle width at the southeast corner of the lot, 4-foot 4-inch distance between parking lot curb and property line, and provide no sidewalk along the side of the building rather than the 28 required off-street motor vehicle parking spaces, 16-foot minimum distance between driveway entrances, 20-foot minimum drive aisle widths, 6-foot minimum curbing setback, and 5-foot minimum sidewalk alongside a building respectively as required by sections 118, 218.3, 118, 218C4B, 118, 212A1F, 118, 212I1, and 118, 212I10 of the zoning chapter of the Skokie Village Code in an M3 industry district. Subject to the recommendations of the staff to provide volume control, infiltration first 1 inch of rain by providing eco pavers and an infiltration clean gravel layer in the proposed paving areas. 2, the proposed redevelopment must control the stormwater runoff release rate and provide storage of the excess stormwater runoff in accordance with the village code requirements per 11881C1. And 3, the westernmost ADA parking space should be converted to a standard parking space with the remainder of the space to become a landscape buffer. That all other codes and ordinances of the Village of Skokie shall be fully and strictly complied with.
Okay, awesome. And again, just to amend, the second condition is for new construction only.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, we have a motion to approve with the 3 conditions. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Let's see. I'm gonna go ladies first, so we'll get Commissioner Jacobson on the second. But the chair will go ahead and call the roll. And Michael, we'll make you first.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Beverly?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Gersner?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Aye.
Commissioner Kirkpatrick?
Aye.
Commissioner Ard?
Yes.
And Commissioner Salovey?
Aye.
And the chair will vote aye. Okay, so in the case of 2019-01Z, the motion to grant the variances with the 3 conditions has been approved.
Thank you.
So, yeah. And Corporation Counsel, what does petitioner need to know from here on out?
We'll prepare the covenant and notify you when it's ready for the property owner's signature. Should be about 2 weeks from now.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Good
Yeah,
luck to you.
yeah, good luck with the renovation. So just out of curiosity, are you like LEED certifying it or anything like that, or? Yeah, you don't have to.
No, unfortunately, it's very difficult to do
Yeah,
something like that. There's a lot of paved area.
Yeah,
and, it's just,
yeah.
I wish we could.
Yeah, it's all good, don't worry about it. Just modernizing and taking care of a piece of property like the way you intend to is good enough.
Thank you.
So, awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Rafi. Okay, all right, great. A nice, lovely ending to that little chapter. So that's it for tonight, and unfortunately, that's it for until May at least, anyway, huh?
Correct.
Correct. A very, very succinct one-word answer. Okay, well, we'll find out more, I guess, when the a month from now, if we have?
About 2 weeks or so.
Oh, a couple
2 to
weeks.
3 weeks, we'll find out for May.
Oh, okay, great, okay. All right, well, that is it. So, anybody else have anything else to say? If not, then this meeting of the Village of Skokie Zoning Board of Appeals is adjourned. Thank you very much.